Hello and welcome back to my channel. And if you're new here, welcome. I hope you're all doing well. Today we're doing something a little different. I've seen this tag go around BookTube for a couple of years. I've seen a few last year and I'm seeing some being posted right now, and that is the mid-year book freakout tag. It's kind of like a mid-year check-in of all the books that you've read for 2024, a series of questions to get you to reflect on your reading that you've done this year. What were your favorite books? What stood out? What didn't stand out? That type of thing. So I've been watching a few people do this. Sarah Caroli posted one last year, which I really enjoyed. So I'm going to use her questions. So if you want to reference her video, you can do that, but it's going to be the same questions, but for 2024, obviously. So for 2024, I've already read 42 books. So I think we've got a pretty good selection to choose from for these questions. And there's 13 questions in this questionnaire. So I have the questions in front of me, but I'll also post them on the screen so that you know what we're answering. So I've already read 42 books this year in 2024, and I think that's actually a really good number. So I set my Goodreads goal to 50, but I'm definitely going to exceed that. And doing this kind of mid-year reflection is a good time to also reevaluate your Goodreads goal if you have one set for 2024, like your Goodreads challenge. I think by the end of June, I think I might hit that 50 book goal, which I actually didn't expect this was going to be the case, because last year, I didn't read for the entire year in 2023. I picked up reading again, I want to say it was October, maybe September. I read 2 books in September, maybe 3 books in October, something like that. But I only ended up reading 23 books, so I didn't want to overwhelm myself. And for this year, I just kind of set it to 50 just to, see how it goes. Well, it looks like I'm going to exceed that goal. I definitely didn't expect that I'd be reading so much this year. And this is kind of a lot for me. We're already midway through June. By the end of June, I think I'm gonna hit that goal. So this is also a really good time to reevaluate that goal if you have one set on Goodreads. And it's looking like by the end of June, I will probably have 50 books read or very close to it. So I think I'm going to reevaluate my Goodreads goal, because I certainly didn't expect that I'm going to read this many books, and it's already we're only halfway through the year. So I certainly didn't expect to be almost at that goal when we're halfway through the year. I kind of want to set it to 100, but I don't really know. I don't want to overcommit myself and feel bad if I don't make the goal. I probably won't feel bad if I don't make the goal, but I don't know. You know what I mean. So I'm gonna think on that. I'm gonna decide between setting it to maybe 75, or maybe if I'm feeling ambitious, if I do make it to that 50 at the end of June, then I'll revise it to maybe 100. We'll see. I'm not committing to anything at this point, but I'm just letting you know I'm probably going to update my reading challenge. So anyways, so we have 13 questions to go through on this mid-year book freakout tag. By the way, I do love that name. It's very, very cute. Some people are calling it, I think, mid-year check-in or something. I've seen that. But I'm gonna call it the mid-year book freakout tag because I think that's cute. Also, in case you're wondering why my setup is a little bit different, this week I'm actually at my sister's house because I'm watching her dog while she's on vacation. So that's why the space is a little bit different than my normal filming setup. So let's get started. We've got 13 questions to go through. So the first question is, what is the best book you've read in 2024? The best book so far that you've read in 2024? That's kind of a hard one, but also kind of an easy one, because I think a lot of people are going to say that, well, actually, I don't know if a lot of people are going to say this, because I think a lot of people have read this series last year. I read it this year. I read this in January, but it still stands because this was amazing and also my favorite book of the series. If you think you can guess what it is, if you think you know what I'm talking about, and it's pretty clear because there's clues on the screen at the moment, go ahead and post it down below in a comment as what you think is my favorite book that I've read in 2024. I'll give you a minute. Okay. This is my favorite book. This is the best book I've read in 2024. I don't think anybody's really surprised. I don't think anybody should really be surprised. Sarah J. Maas, she's probably on these lists for a lot of people. This was my favorite book in the series. It's the second book in the ACOTAR series, A Court of Mist and Fury by Sarah J. Maas, and obviously clue on the screen right there. Yeah, this was the best book I read in 2024. Now, there are definitely runner-ups. Is it runner-ups or runners-up? I don't know. But there's definitely contenders for this spot, but I think this one pretty much beat out. But the other ones I would like to give like a special mention to would be Bewitched by Laura Thalassa. I absolutely love that book. I think I have that here. Wait. Bewitched by Laura Thalassa. Loved this book. I feel like I had a special connection to this one because it was just like, I wouldn't say this is like the best writing. It's definitely not like Sarah J. Maas writing, but it's definitely like fun. And I just really like got lost in the story and I was really enjoying it. So this one is a contender, but it didn't win. This is a contender, but it didn't win either. This is my favorite in the romance genre of like regular contemporary romances. Love Theoretically by Ali Hazelwood, definitely a runner-up. And then I'll also say Butcher and Blackbird by Brynne Weaver, because this is just so different than any other kind of book that I've read. And I just really love this. And this is in the dark romance genre. So the winner is still A Court of Mist and Fury, the best book I've read this year. It was amazing. It was interesting. It was fun. It was thrilling. It had action. It had the best love. The characters were amazing. I loved the characters in this series. I loved Rhysand. I loved Feyre. I loved their relationship. Yeah, so this one stands as number one. Court of Mist and Fury for the best book I've read in 2024. The next question is, what is the best sequel you've read in 2024? So obviously for the best sequel, Court of Mist and Fury is a sequel, but I'm not going to mention that one twice since it did win the number one spot. But it does fit in both categories as the best book and the best sequel because it is book 2 in the ACOTAR series, but that's not the one I'm choosing for this because I've already chosen it for one question. I'm just going to let it stand with that one and I'm going to choose a different one. Now I have 2 in mind for this, but I think one of them kind of just had me having a little bit more fun than the other one. So I think I'm going to go with Bespelled by Laura Thalassa. This is the sequel to Bewitched. I absolutely loved Bewitched. It was a runner-up for the best book of 2024, but it didn't win unfortunately, but it was a close second. But this one, Bespelled by Laura Thalassa, is the second book to that. It follows Memnon the Cursed and Selene, and I'm not going to go into the synopsis of it because it is a sequel, so you have to read the first book, and I'm just going to say it was still amazing. I loved it. I had so much fun reading this series. I hope there are more books in this series. I don't actually know if there's going to be a third or a fourth or what, but I know she's had a series with 4 books and another series with 5 books that I also already own and have to read. But yes, I'm loving these characters. I'm loving these stories. I was having the best time reading this book earlier this month, and I'm choosing Bespelled for the best sequel of 2024. Now, I think I have 2 as runner-ups for the best sequel, and that's Leather and Lark by Brynne Weaver. This is the second book after Butcher and Blackbird that just came out, and then I don't have this one with me, but it's The 7-Year Slip by Ashley Poston. And this one is this, it's not really a sequel, it's kind of like an interconnected standalone to The Dead Romantics by Ashley Poston, and I absolutely loved both of these. So these are the runner-ups. So the next question is, what is a new release that you haven't read yet but want to? And this book literally arrived the other day, and that is Not in Love by Ali Hazelwood. You know, I'm loving Ali Hazelwood lately. I loved Love Theoretically. That was a runner-up for the best book I read in 2024 for contemporary romance. I loved Bride. I just love her writing, and she just puts so much effort into like doing additional research and putting that into the story and just like writing her characters to be so relatable, but like, I don't know. I love her writing. I love the romance that she creates on paper. I love like the way that her characters are. Like, I just love her characters and I love the stories. So I have really high hopes for this one. I think this was released on June 10th, so just a few days ago. I had it pre-ordered and it arrived the same day I picked it up. I'm about to read this as soon as I'm done with one other book that I'm reading right now. So yeah, I'm super, super excited for this one. I don't really know what it's about and I don't really care because it's Ali Hazelwood, so I know it's going to be amazing. Also, the cover is super, super cute. It's kind of like a pink wash all over. I think that's adorable. And then also, it's not like a super long book. It's actually just 379 pages. Okay, so it's not like super short, but for an Ali Hazelwood book, I would I would read like 1,000 pages. So that's Not in Love by Ali Hazelwood, and that is the new release you haven't read yet but want to. So the next question is, we're on number 4 now. What is your most anticipated release for the second half of the year? This, I think I'm going to say Love Unwritten by Lauren Asher. This comes out June 18th. I've read the first book in her Lakefront Billionaire series, Love Redesigned, and I just fell in love with her writing. I loved how she wrote the banter in that. It was fun, it was sexy, it was really, really good. So I just really enjoyed myself reading Love Redesigned. I loved it. And I just can't wait for the second book to come out. So that's going to be Love Unwritten by Lauren Asher. Okay, question number 5 is, what's the biggest disappointment? So for this, I have only one book in mind, and this is a book I read on Kindle, and I rated it 1 star because I just really didn't like it, and that is Pride and Precipitation by Heather Herricks. I read this early in the year. It was about like this girl who's like a weather girl, and it's a grumpy sunshine. She's like a super, super sunshine person that lets people walk all over her. She gets like taken advantage of a lot and like gets a new boss who like fires her in order to hire like somebody who's like a lot more like sexy and I don't know, like has more sex appeal and just like somebody who he thinks is gonna make like the station a lot more money, but she's like, I don't know. It just, I'm not personally a fan of workplace romances. I didn't know that was a workplace romance book. I guess I didn't read the synopsis when I got that, but I think it was one of those books I got during Stuff Your Kindle Day, so it was like free. And I just wanted like a short, fun kind of palate cleanser. That's not what that was. I think it was also supposed to be like a loose retelling or like based on Pride and Prejudice, but I've never read Pride and Prejudice, so I don't really know. Like, is that a Grumpy Sunshine? I don't know anything about that. But I just really didn't like it. Also, I didn't like her as a character. I don't even remember her name at this point, but I didn't like her as a character because she was just like, she just let people walk all over her. She'd always just agree. She was like a yes girl because she didn't want to hurt anybody's feelings. She just didn't do anything to protect herself, and I didn't like it. I didn't like that. I gave it 1 star. It was the biggest disappointment. Not that I was expecting a lot or that like my expectations were high for that book. I just wanted like a quick palate cleanser, but I don't know. I guess I expected it to be more like middle of the road, like just a rom-com, you know, but it wasn't. It was just disappointing. So biggest disappointment was Pride and Precipitation by Heather Herricks. Okay, swiftly moving on from that. Question number 6 is, what was the biggest surprise on the other hand? And for this one, I think I'm going to say Bride by Ali Hazelwood, because the reason why this is a surprise is because obviously we know Ali Hazelwood is a contemporary romance author. So everybody knows her in that. Everybody like, you know, loves her contemporary romances. And then she writes this kind of like paranormal fantasy. So I don't think a lot of people were expecting this to be super, super good. It wasn't my expectation because this is actually like my very first Ali Hazelwood book that I read. But, you know, I had it in my head that other people were saying that this is just like she's branching out into fantasy. You know, it's not her like regular genre. She's really good at her regular genre, which is contemporary romance. So we'll see how she does with fantasy. So my expectations were pretty low for this one because most people were saying this is probably not going to be a hit because, you know, it's not her regular genre, whatever. But then I was just so pleasantly surprised. I loved this book. I had such a great time reading it. It's a vampire werewolf story. You know, I love vampire werewolf stories. And I just had the best time. I was so lost in the story. I loved it. I loved her writing. I loved the characters. I loved the plot. I loved everything about this book. So my biggest surprise also was Bride by Ali Hazelwood. Okay, so question number 7 is favorite new author, debut, or new to you? And I think this will come as no surprise to anybody watching this video at the moment, but I'm going with Ali Hazelwood. For reasons I just mentioned about Bride, for reasons I just mentioned about Love Theoretically, I'm super excited for her new releases, and I'm gonna read her entire backlist. I have nothing else to say about that. Ali Hazelwood is amazing. She's my favorite new author at the moment, but I do have runner-ups for this as well. Obviously, Sarah J. Maas is making the list. Obviously, Brynne Weaver is making the list, and obviously Laura Thalassa are also making this list. They are amazing as well. I loved all the books I read by them, but I think I'm gonna go with Ali Hazelwood because I'm just loving her. I love her. I love her writing. Like, this book especially had me feeling basically every emotion on the planet. Every emotion that you could possibly feel. I cried during this book. I sobbed during this book for whatever reason. I was so emotionally attached to them. I loved the banter. I literally laughed out loud during some parts of this. It was just the best, I would say. Loved this book. So excited for this one. I think Ali Hazelwood right now is my favorite new author. And she's new to me. She's obviously not a debut author. She's just new to me. Okay, question number 8 is favorite fictional crush. And for this, I think I'm going to say, there's a runner-up, but I think I'm going to say, for one reason only, is Memnon the Cursed from Bewitched and Bespelled. The runner-up is obviously Rhysand from ACOTAR, but I think Memnon kind of beat out Rhysand because I thought he was just hilarious. So he's kind of similar. He's obviously like the villain in the story at first. I just thought he was so hilarious with the way that he talked to Selene, because he obviously thinks that she's his wife and she's the one who cursed him, but because she is his wife, he still like treats her with respect, but he still wants to get revenge on her. He keeps calling her my queen, my empress, you know, whatever. It was just, I thought it was so funny, and he's just like the best kind of villain. He's super badass, just like Rhysand, but he's also like funny, and I just really loved him as a fictional character. So we're going with Memnon the Cursed from Bewitched and Bespelled by Laura Thalassa for favorite fictional crush. Question number 9 is newest favorite characters. I think for this one, I'm gonna say Sloane and Rowan from Butcher and Blackbird by Brynne Weaver. This is the serial killer rom-com. I think they were hilarious. I loved their banter. I loved their dynamic. I loved them together as a couple. And yeah, these were just really fun reads, just so different. Obviously, Leather and Lark is not following Sloane and Rowan, but they do make an appearance in this book. This book, Butcher and Blackbird, is the one focused on that couple. I really love them. I love the fact that they're serial killers. I love how they perform their serial killing. That's kind of weird to say, but yeah, I think they're, as fictional characters, I think they were really well done, and I just had so much fun reading this, and I love them as characters. So yeah, so new favorite fictional characters, Sloane and Rowan from Butcher and Blackbird. Question number 10, book that made you cry. Book that made you cry. So I don't cry that much during books. There are a few that stand out for me in my head. Like last year, I know I cried during The Wish by Nicholas Sparks because, you know, that's just a really sad book, and all his books are really sad. So that one stands out in my mind of like having like a cry session when I was reading that. But this year, I think the only one that I've actually cried during is Love Theoretically by Ali Hazelwood. I don't remember what it was that got me to cry in this book. I think it was just like that the main character was going through such a hard time, and it just felt like everything was against her, and you know, somebody else was there making it harder for her, and you know, she's a diabetic as well in this book, so she's struggling with that, and I just like, I really felt for her. Just tugged on my heartstrings. I felt her pain, and also because the writing was so good that like I actually felt how she felt because it was so well written. So I can't really think of any other book that made me like cry this much. I mean, there might have been like some tearing during some other books, but it wasn't like super memorable in my head right now. This is the one that stands out the most. So this is what I'm going with, and that's Love Theoretically by Ali Hazelwood for book that made you cry. I know other people will have different books for this question. Probably books that like actually are meant to make you cry. I don't know if this was actually meant to make you cry, but I just really connected with her, so I did. But I think other people are probably going to say stuff like A Little Life or If He Had Been With Me. I haven't read those books yet. I have them, but I haven't read them yet. So I'm sure those books will make me cry, but I haven't read them yet, so they haven't yet. So going with Ali Hazelwood, Love Theoretically. Okay, number 11 is a book that made you happy. Now, all of the books that I've mentioned so far have made me happy because I loved them, all of them. And when I'm reading a book that I love, I'm automatically happy, even if it's got like sad scenes or whatever and I'm crying like I did with Love Theoretically. But another book that has not been mentioned yet that made me really, really happy is Funny Story by Emily Henry. And I just love this story. Right now, this is my favorite Emily Henry book. I have also read Beach Read by her, and I expected that to be my favorite book by Emily Henry because it's like the top of everybody's Emily Henry list as like their number one read by her. It wasn't for me. It just wasn't what I was expecting. When I was reading Funny Story, though, I was feeling like happy and joyful like the entire time that I was reading this book. And it just brought out that emotion in me. And so I just really, really loved it. So this is the book I'm going with for book that made me happy. And that's Funny Story by Emily Henry. Because it did. It made me happy. Also, it has lemons on the spine. Like, you know? And he wears Crocs. She's a librarian at the Children's Library. Enough said. Funny Story by Emily Henry. We're getting near the end. Okay, so number 12 is the most beautiful book you bought so far this year. Now, I don't usually buy a lot of special editions or anything like that, and I think the most beautiful books that I have on my shelves have actually been purchased last year or the one that my friend made for me. But this year, out of all the books that I bought this year, which was a lot of books, most of them I just buy like regular paperback or hardcover or whatever. But this year, the only one that I actually wanted because I thought it was really, really cute is Gothicana by Runix. I have not read this yet, but this actually came out a couple years ago, I think. But then it was reissued in this like special edition version in January of this year. So I'm going with Gothicana by Runix, and the reason why this is the most beautiful book is because I absolutely love this jacket right here. It's like the perfect color scheme. It's gold, it's dark, it looks gothic, there's a castle, or maybe that's a school. I don't really know what this is about, but dark romance covers, usually when they're kind of like this, are like my absolute favorite. So I got this one. It also has like these beautiful purple sprayed edges, which I absolutely love. And then it has, and then like outside of the jacket, we've got like foiling on the cover, which I think is really beautiful. And then it has end paper art right there, which looks really cool. It also has these beautiful illustrations at the chapter beginnings. So yeah. Look at that, it's so beautiful. So I got this in January when it was released in this like special edition version. I haven't read this yet. I think this is a gothic dark romance. And I just love everything about the look of this book. So yeah, it's just beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. I love this cover. I love the jacket. I love the actual book itself. I think it's absolutely beautiful. So I'm going with Gothicana by Runix for the most beautiful book you bought so far this year. Okay, and for the final question, which is what books do you need to read by the end of this year? So this is kind of a loaded question because I bought so many books this year. As you've seen from my previous videos, it's like book haul after book haul after book haul. But that's okay because I'm more of a book dragon than a bookworm. My reading speed definitely does not exceed my book buying speed. But that's just the reality of the situation, and I'm not ashamed. I'm not ashamed, okay? I'm definitely not ashamed. I love having books. I love shopping for books. I love reading them as well, but I definitely can't read them as fast as I'm buying them. So there's a ton of books that I want to read this year. Will I read them this year? It's probably not likely, because if I'm gonna make it to 100 books, like maybe I'll probably only read like 50 more of these books. So we'll see what happens. But the ones that I absolutely have to read this year, we're gonna start off with Throne of Glass, the entire Throne of Glass series by Sarah J Maas, because I announced at the beginning of the year that this is gonna be the year of Sarah J Maas. So I'm gonna read all of her books this year. I've already read the entire ACOTAR series. I also listened to most of the graphic audios by that, so I technically read those twice. I'm in the middle of Crescent City. Well, I'm almost done with Crescent City. I'm currently reading House of Flame and Shadow, but I already read the first 2 books in Crescent City, and those are each like over 800 pages. So I've read those, and I'm making my way through the 3rd one of that. And then I'm planning on starting Throne of Glass series this month, because there's 8 books in that series, and I don't want to read them consecutively, like one after the other, because I don't want to forget like what happens in which book, like which sequence of events happens in which book. So I kind of want to spread it out and like give myself like read 2 books this month, but like fit in a couple books in between them, so that in my brain I could remember what happens in what book. So that's that. So that's Sarah J Maas. I need to finish Crescent City this year, and I need to finish Throne of Glass this year. The other ones that I really want to read this year are Abby Jimenez books, especially Yours Truly and the one that just came out, which is Just for the Summer. Everybody has been saying such amazing things about Just for the Summer. I just don't want to wait. I really want to read that book this summer. Yeah, the reviews of that book are just simply amazing, and I don't want to miss out. I have FOMO. I don't want to miss out on that. And I already read Part of Your World, and I absolutely loved it. So that could be also another honorable mention for best books for 2024. It's Part of Your World by Abby Jimenez. So that's another one. Other books that I want to read this year are the Boys of Tommen series, and also the Off Campus series, which I recently hauled. Both of those have like 5 or 6 books in each series, something like that. Don't quote me on that, but there's quite a bit of books in those series, and they're pretty big. So I do want to get through, or at least start both of those series. And then the Windy City series by Liz Tomforde, because those are Chicago based. I live in Chicago. We all know this. I need to read those books as well. A few other kind of like standalones that I really want to read this year are Normal People by Sally Rooney, A Little Life by Hanya. I don't know how to say her last name. It's Hanya Yanagihara, because rumors are that this is going to become like a classic, and it's supposed to be absolutely amazing and like incredibly sad, but absolutely amazing. Another one I want to read this year is Archer's Voice by Mia Sheridan. That was on my TBR. I believe it was in May, but I didn't make it because of the ACOTAR graphic audios. So I definitely want to read that this year. The Nightingale, which is a historical fiction set in World War II, I believe. Everybody says that that book is amazing, so I want to read that this year. And then the new releases that are coming out this year, like Love Unwritten by Lauren Asher, and then A Novel Love Story by Ashley Poston. Both of those are coming out, so I definitely want to read those. And yeah, basically everything that's on my TBR cart and like that I haven't read that's on my shelves right now. So there's a ton, okay? The rest of them, I don't know if I'm going to actually get to reading this year, but I want to read them soon for sure. But I'm just not like super set on having to read them this year. The ones that I mentioned like have to be read this year. So that's kind of how I'm going to answer that question. It's a lot, but I'm going to try to do it. It is what it is. So that's that. So those were all the questions for this tag. I really enjoyed answering them. I had a great time today. Thank you for that, and thank you for watching. Please let me know if you're a booktuber and you're doing this tag as well. Like, comment down below. I really want to check out your videos and see how you answered these questions. And yeah, let's be friends. Please also friend me on Goodreads. My link is down below. If you're a reader, I would love to like follow your reading journey as well. That's it. Like, thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it. And that's it. So thank you again, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.